Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Bommer 3029-5-633 double acting spring hinge. That's what it looks like. It's the frame leaf portion, and the door leaf portion is here. The 5-inch size is important, not in terms of the length or the size of the hinge, and that 5 inches is really the top of this leaf down to here. But the most important thing about it being 5 inch is that it's for doors that are 1.125 to 1.5 thick. So the first question when you are looking to acquire a double acting spring hinge like this is not what size it is as much as how thick the door is that you're going to be putting it on. There's a link to the template and the installation instructions, and I would just like to point out that on the template there will be dimensions of laying out the screw holes and whatnot for the entire hinge, overall sizes, so on and so forth. What I'd like to mention, however, is that if you're installing this hinge into a single door or a double door application, you're going to want your door styles to be square. First of all, you don't want any beveled edges to the doors. Additionally, you're going to need to pre-fit the width of the door to accommodate for the thickness of this assembly, you know, the jamb leaf and the door leaf. So if you have a 36-inch wide opening, your door is going to have to be pre-fit down for that, and the actual amount of pre-fit will be dependent on whether or not you're going to mortise the door leaf portion to the edge of the door or not. You would really only mortise this portion of it because the door sticks out this way. Okay, the dimensions are there for whether or not what pre-fit you need to allow for a mortised door flange or a surface mounted door flange, so I won't bother with showing that to you, but if you have any questions regarding it, please feel free to reach out. This hinge includes all the wood screws that you need to go on both leaves. It will include a tension rod, and then the pins. There's 4 shown here, but you'd only need 2 per hinge. And that's how you set the tension on the hinge. You follow the direction of the arrow because the spring is only intended to go one way. And you would basically set the tension and then insert a pin and then release. And the pin that you insert here will be held, and then you can insert your tension rod again and crank it over even further and then move your pin over to get the tension set. There are guidelines here in terms of the weight of the door that the hinges can handle, and of course the door width. If you're dealing with doors up to 65 pounds and up to 2'8", 2 hinges Bommer recommends would be sufficient. If your door gets up to 93 pounds and up to 3 foot wide, 3 hinges would be the way to go. The installation of this would be 1 at the top, 1 at the bottom for 2 hinges. And if you were doing a 3rd hinge, you would want to install that top hinge. You'd want to install it right below that top hinge because that's where all the weight of the door and all the mechanics of that door is happening. This is a very common hinge. The 3029 double acting restaurant doors, you know, from the kitchen to the dining area. Very typical. The 5-inch I think is less common than the 6-inch because a lot of doors in commercial settings are 1.75 inch thick, which is too thick for this kind of door. Although people have made them work by notching the face of the door to physically get it to stick in, but that's not recommended, of course. You'd go with the proper thickness. So the 5-inch is a bit less common than the 6-inch, only because door thicknesses are typically 1.75 inch. But if your door was 1.125 to 1.5 inch, the 5-inch would be the one you want. This is again the 633 finish, the satin brass. It's available. The 3029 series is available in several different finishes, along with different sizes for different door thicknesses as well. Again, if you have any questions on the Bommer 3029-5-633 or any Bommer product, please feel free to reach out to us. One thing I do want to finally take note of, the Bommer hinge They are not going to be the least expensive hinge on the market, and they might not be the most readily available for every size and every finish, but in my opinion, they're the highest quality and always well worth the wait. And they're 100% made in America, and in that regard, at this moment, Bommer stands alone. Thank you very much.